Hello everyone, in the previous two videos, we discussed the features of this 3D view. In the first video, we covered several display options, the second video focused on camera, rendering options, as well as playback. In this video, let's first talk about these middle buttons. We'll briefly introduce each of them. These buttons make changes on the motions when we import it into Maya or Max. For example, mirroring and reverse playback. Let's go through them one by one. Firstly, we have the Attach to Ground button. It means that in some cases, when there are issues with the source file, the character's feet may either extend into the ground or float in the air. In such situations, when import the character into Maya or Max, we must consider the ground adapting issue if we enable this parameter. The character attaches to the ground. For example, in this animation, the feet extend into the ground. Let's try it out. Let's open Maya. I'll open our sample file. The sample file is located in the G drive under AC Resource and AC Samples. It's called Advanced Skeleton Sample Rig. After opening it, let's do the match operation. You can find more information about this operation in my related videos. I won't go into detail about it here. Select any part of the character, click on the match button. This process will change the orange signal light into green. At this point, the character can receive animation importing. Once these steps are done, make sure to still have any part of the character selected. Go back to Animcraft. Right-click on the target in Maya. Sometimes you have multiple instances of Maya open. You may need to select one and connect it. Now we can import the animation. Import it. You can cancel the importing if you're not ready by click cancel. For example, set the time cursor to 0. Start from here, click on import again. In this part, select from character current position. Do not select the use animation source. The original animation is not a depth ground. It's 100% of the original animation, and it will intersect into ground. Here, we choose use current character orientation. Now, the animation will be applied to the character, and it will prevent the feet from penetrating into the surface. Let's take a look at this. You can see the character. It is always above the surface. What if we don't enable that? Just keep selecting any controller, then turn it off after turning it off. Continue with the import. By the way, let me introduce some other import parameters. Anyway, this video is introducing these import parameters too. Such as, we can import part of the motion. Here, if we don't want to import the entire animation, we only want to import some frames. We can trim it, or in this interval. Click OK. The animation can be imported. At this point, you can see we turned off the ground attachment. After turning off the ground attachment and importing, you can see that the character will definitely fall below the surface. You can see that the foot has already penetrated. This is an introduction to the ground attachment feature, and so on. If the motion is floating, it still can attach the character to the ground. This is not demonstrated here. Next one, let's talk about partial import. Partial import means that you can import the animation for some parts of the character. For example, the lower body. There is a dedicated video to explain this. We will briefly go through it here. For example, let's import the lower body. Up to frame 67 here. Here. You can see that the upper body of the character remains still, the lower body continues to walk. This is a feature of partial import. The second action, import part frames and part character segments. The hands are moving in front frames. Okay, next let's take a look at mirroring. First, let's turn off partial import. The mirroring means that the left and right can be opposite. Let's pause it and go back to the initial frame and take a look. You can see that initially, it is mirrored, the right foot is in front. If we turn off the mirroring and bring it back to this, actually, by default, the left foot should be in front, so we enabled mirroring. It becomes the right foot in front. At this point, when you import, it will import based on the mirrored version of this action. Next topic is inverse playing. So it imports the entire animation in inverse order. It's this sequence. First wave the hand, then like this. Let's give it a try. Wave the hand and then make a fist. It adjusts the sequence of this action, quite simple. There is another feature, called in-place playing. It's commonly used for in-place motion. For example, there is a running action here. You can see that the character runs out from the origin point. Let's turn off the camera follow, otherwise, it's a bit shaky. This kind of running out from the origin point is more suitable for film or animation production. For games development, it's not very convenient for in-place actions. At this point, we can switch it to in-place mode. You can see that the character is running in place. Let's try to import it and see. Let's import it from this 107th frame. Okay. You can see that the character is running in place and not touching the ground. There is still some interpenetration for this motion. Other than that, it's quite simple. He is running in place. Other than that, it's quite simple, as I just mentioned. We can also trim the animation. We've talked about it, and adjust the speed of the animation. We can make it run faster. For example, at twice the speed, it will run faster. This is the cycle. Cycle means it can be imported twice. If we set it to 2, for example, we can set it to loop twice. Let's reopen this file. Let's import a fast-running animation that loops twice. Let's match it up with the scene and make it run out. Okay, it's ready. Let's reset it to the initial frame. You can see that it now has 2 loops, twice the speed. We can select any part of it. Click on Import for that part, it will be imported. You can see that the speed will noticeably increase. It will loop twice. "26 frames for 2 loop, right? It was originally 26 frames, divided by 2 is 13 frames, then 2 loops, 26 frames. You can see that the speed has increased. These are some more import options. There is also a frame rate option. You can adjust the frame rate. We won't cover this part. After adjusting the frame rate, you can import it into the corresponding character. Especially useful for some merging purposes, because sometimes it may involve FBX operations. Okay, these are some options for importing character animations. Actually, in the introduction of other features, these things will also be introduced again. Here we just briefly go over them. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can check the detailed introduction of other features, or check the documentation. Okay, thanks for watching.